Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Sweet Spot.
We are your hosts.
I'm Diane.
And I'm Michael Pinball Clemens.
And we are so excited to be here today.
The Sweet Spot really is joy unspeakable, having balance in all you do.
It's being grateful, even when things aren't great. The desire to help others when you may be hurting yourself.
It is submission to a sovereign God who is in control when things look good or bad.
The Sweet Spot means happy times are happier, challenging times are growth opportunities, and love is the ruler of the day.
The Sweet Spot is resting and sometimes wrestling in the arms of the Almighty.
Simply put, if you're in your sweet spot, you're probably abiding in the fruits of the Spirit.
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control.
So we hope you join us as we take this journey and engage in topics that we hope will inspire,
encourage,
challenge,
uplift,
excite,
insight,
refresh,
restore,
revitalize,
comfort,
stimulate,
and strengthen each of you in your daily walk.
Welcome to The Sweet Spot. Hello, Sweet Spot family.
Woo!
We are going to dive right into it today because we have a very special guest
Special
in the studio.
doesn't say enough.
Special guest in the studio with us today. She holds a degree in political science, and her career on television began in traffic and weather, believe that or not. Radio reporter for, guess who? Tennessee Morning on Fox 17. Some of you probably have never heard of that, huh? But it gets better. She is now an Inside Edition national correspondent and special correspondent for CBS Thursday Night Football.
What?
My husband loves that. She has covered high-profile stories, both political and sports-related. You know what? Hot off the press. As soon as they come out, Megan is the one that gets them. I just recently heard someone say that we all have two resumes. Two, not one, but two. And I found that very interesting because the before mentioned is her educational resume. But what really got me is her character resume. Now, some of you probably asked the question, well, what's a character resume? Well, let me tell you, this lady is something special. She is the epitome of the modern day Proverbs 31 woman. She is clothed in strength and dignity. She can laugh at days to come. Her character and integrity, it speaks volumes for Christian women, especially in the entertainment industry. Amen. And the example she has set for young women around the world, and my daughters included. I tell you, it's something special. Sweet Spot family, may I please introduce to you our special new friend, Megan Alexander.
Megan!
And her new book,
Thank you.
Faith in the Spotlight. Yes! I'm telling you, you guys are in for a treat because as I was reading this book, oh my gosh, it's so much good stuff in here. I was like, well, how do we do this in such a short time? But we're going to do our best to get everything out of Megan today that we possibly can. Megan,
thank you.
Welcome.
That's the best introduction I've ever heard. Thank you, Diane. Thank you, guys.
And the amazing part is it still pales in comparison to the reality.
Absolutely.
We're so proud to have you on the show here and so excited about it. And congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes,
goodness,
congratulations.
Thank you for having me. I love that you guys want to talk about this
Yeah,
stuff.
so
It's a beautiful thing.
and the best is yet to come. We know as we continue
Amen.
to mature, and but we're just so grateful to have you on the show. And I just want to tell you, you're awesome.
Thank you.
Yes,
Well,
yes,
so are you. This is fun for
and
me
you're
to
so
do
young.
this. Oh, God.
You're
These two.
so young. I'm thinking,
Like, these two look so
she's
young.
done
Come
all
on.
of this, and she's so young. Like, really? What a resume.
Thank you.
What a resume.
That's
I
nice
tell
of you
you.
to
And I love that we've talked about, she's done this and done it so young, but I also believe she expected to be here. Expected to be in a place.
100%.
Your ambition, I loved, and we want to start from the beginning, but I loved one quote that you had in the book where you say, you like to keep my mind, right,
in
a state of opportunity. Keep your mind in a state of opportunity. I love that.
That's why she's here today.
We're gonna let you answer that a little later because
Okay.
we don't want to move too fast, right? little teaser as well.
So we're gonna rewind.
Yes. So go back. Tell us a little bit about where you grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Seattle, Washington.
Seattle.
Go Seahawks! And spent a lot of time in Vancouver, so love
So
being
you
back
know
in
Canada.
Yes.
Yes.
And, really appreciate growing up in the Northwest. Beautiful. And grew up in a Christian home. You know, my parents put my sister and I, who's older, in a Christian school in Seattle, more for academics than for faith. But what happens is when you start getting involved and learning about the Lord and it's integrated in everything you do, it brought our whole family closer to the Lord. And it was a real blessing. And
So your parents became stronger Christians after you went to the school?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
yes,
Wow.
I mean, they were always, believers, and it was there, but it really became a part of our everyday life when I started attending this Christian school in Seattle. And, it's always been a part of my life, but I would say I really claimed my faith for myself in about junior high. In about 7th grade, I had that moment where I said, okay, I've been raised this way. Do I believe this? I want to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. That came in about junior high. And then really, I had parents that were very supportive and just said, go for it, try a bunch of different things in life, whether it was sports or performing in school plays. Faith was always just a part of me and who I was, and I'm grateful for it. And started feeling like I wanted to be in this industry in about high school.
Wow. So can you tell us how because for most people, right, who kind of grew up in Christian, both of us sort of grew up in the Christian
And I
family
went
as
to
well.
Christian school as well,
Yes,
and
yes,
university Christian.
And as you can tell, I didn't.
So I can relate.
But interestingly enough, most of us sort of grab home to that faith when we leave home, when we go to university, when we get out of the house, get that first job. That's the time for. How did you express that in junior high? What did it look like?
Yeah, well, being involved with youth group and with Christian camp in the summer, my parents, introduced me to a lot of circumstances where people were asking deep questions and big questions, sharing their testimonies. Role models have been a big part of my life, and people just a couple years older than me, whether it was on the sports team, where I saw them doing things I wanted to do. And, parents oftentimes say, how did you stay out of trouble and so forth? I think my parents kept me really busy in asking questions and being interested in life and wondering how our faith applies to what we do. And I think in junior high, that's when you're deciding who your peer group is. Who am I going to be? Am I going to be the good girl, the rebel, the academic, the jock, all these labels that we put on ourselves. But as I was asking those questions, I think I'm lucky that I was in a school where faith was being incorporated into the big picture, and then would come home to parents that were really available to talk about that stuff. You're deciding about dating and all sorts of things at that age, and I just started being focused on, okay, God, what do you want me to do with my life? And it's a journey, it's a process, and I really think it was staying busy in good activities. I think staying busy is a huge part of it. You don't have a whole lot of time to get in trouble when you're going after this and that, academics and sports teams. So
yes, I love that, but I still am so curious about. For me, I grew up in a Christian family, and my mom will say that I never really strayed that far. But I wasn't saying, God, what do you want me to do with my life, right? That was always in the back, that I wanted to be a good Christian, but that is so detailed. Now, specifically, though, maybe let me ask this. You mentioned grade 8, though, was a bit of a tough year.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe talk to us about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, that doesn't mean when you make these decisions that you're going to be the most popular kid or you're going to have a ton of friends or life is going to be perfect. I was a bit of a loner. And, I remember my mom saying to me once, listen, it is okay to go sit by yourself. Instead of feeling pressure to just do what everybody else is doing, be okay being alone. That was huge. Looking back now and being a mother, I'm so thankful that she said that to me, because you feel like, oh, I got to fit in and do what everybody's doing. But I think, I was a bit of a loner, and I loved books. I loved to read and read a lot of great Christian novels, different authors, Jeanette Oak, all these folks, Karen Kingsbury. That was a part of my life. And then I've just always been really ambitious, and I just started setting goals.
Love it.
You know,
Love
I
it.
just, and I would have conversations with people, okay, you want to get here. Well, what are you doing right now to get there? A lot of people think I'm kind of weird, that I was like into journaling and writing down my goals and so forth. But I remember times where, you know, the youth group would bring in a college couple that was in college, and they'd share their testimony, and they'd talk about dating and relationships and careers. And I was just a sponge. I soaked it up, and I just kind of kept thinking about the future and what I wanted to do. You know, it's just sort of who I am. I never really had a time where I stumbled into a lot of darkness or had a rough time. I think it was more the lonely years where I just kind of kept to myself.
Right.
But those are beautiful times when you get to know the Lord a little bit better, and He's going to bring those friends into your life that you really need. It's okay to sit by yourself, you know?
Now, I know in the book when you talked about being in grade 8, and you actually mentioned a couple that came into your school, and they talked about having sex, and they were abstaining and as a couple, and you were saying that is when you made your decision that you were going to abstain.
Yeah.
And you were true to your word.
Right.
And so I want to ask this question. What do you say to young women today who are struggling in that department, and they want to do the right thing, they want to make the right choice? Sure. Do you have any encouraging words for them?
Sure. I am so grateful that that couple was so frank and honest and blunt about it. Looking back, I remember when they shared their testimony, it was uncomfortable in the room. We're talking about sex. There's a couple that's sharing how, you know, it's God's plan, and really think about, you know, what His plan is for marriage and for your life. And I remember people being so uncomfortable. I am so grateful that they were willing to be vulnerable, and even when it's a little embarrassing, that they were willing to be honest with us, and they opened it up for questions. That was huge for me, because then I started going, okay, you know, what is God's plan? Do I value myself? Right. You asked, what would I say to young ladies? I think a lot of it, and young men, is self-worth.
Absolutely.
Placing yourself, you know, in a position of worth and going, what are my goals? What do I want to offer the world? And okay, what's God's plan for how all this works? Relationships, friendships first. We just started talking about that and asking all those questions, and then I just made the decision, okay, I believe that it's God's plan for us to wait, and I'm going to do that. And then, you know, the advice was have accountability, get friends around you, share it with your parents, try to get as many people on board to know that this is your decision, so you'll be encouraged. And look, I have Christian friends that made a different choice, you know, and I realize it's a very personal choice. But for me, I just decided I wanted to place high value on my life, and I would say to those young girls and men, you know, you're worth it. So really think about it, and think about what you want to do. It's not so much that you can't have sex, it's what you can do. I can now go after my dreams in college, or this and that, and not maybe have, you know, the hardships and the pressure that comes with if you're going to get involved physically. And, you know, our story is my husband did not wait. He came to the faith later in life. He found God in the fire department. His fire chief was a Christian. And so he then found his faith, and then we started dating, and he made that decision with me. And so that's a part of our story.
Our story is similar. We have the exact same story.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. But what really struck me is when you said, I can't remember what chapter it was, but you said you understood, or you realized that that boy or that girl is actually going to be someone else's. That's going to be someone's husband.
Yes.
That's going to be someone's wife.
Yeah.
And that really hit me because of the way you said that. I was like, wow.
I know.
That's true.
You're right. I'm so glad you brought that up. She knows my book better than I do. But you're right. That was a conversation in early high school with, I was in a singing group called Living Faith, which was like a Christian pop group in our choir in high school. And yeah, the guys and girls, God bless them, we had these types of conversations. And I remember my friend Tim saying, well, if we're all going to eventually get married one day, and it probably won't be to each other or the person right next to you, then if I love you as my Christian sister and I love you as my Christian brother, I want to do everything I can to build you up and think of your future. And that means who you date and how you interact when you're dating. If you're putting the other person first instead of yourself, the world teaches us a selfish mindset.
That's right.
Go for it. Do all that you
Exactly.
can.
Me,
Make
me,
yourself
me.
happy instead of the other person. You're right. That was a defining
That
moment.
was
where you
beautiful.
go, okay.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
If I'm dating him and he may not end up being my husband, most likely he won't be. How are we going to act so that one day it'll be special for him and his wife?
See, and that
Mindset.
that was beautiful. I was like, I gotta show my girls this.
Yes,
This
yes,
is beautiful.
Yeah. It causes you to just pause and think.
And it's different when you hear it from someone else. You know, as you're telling and trying to teach your kids, it's different when they hear it from someone else. So that was beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yes. Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you for that.
And I never really thought I would talk about this publicly, you know, but listen, not a lot of people are talking about it anymore.
Right.
And it's those conversations that I've had with young people that say, I'm waiting to. And they'll whisper to me in the back hallway.
That's
And they'll
so
say,
beautiful.
I'm not the only one. Thank you for talking about this. And then my husband and I say, it's worth it. If we can encourage one other person, I'm willing to be uncomfortable and to be vulnerable like that couple in high school that inspired me. Let's do it. We've got to talk about it.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
beautiful.
Such self-awareness at
such a young age.
And so really appreciate that whole idea. You know, I love the idea of telling young girls it's okay to be alone. It's okay to be by yourself, right? I tell my girls all the time, I say, one of the secrets to happiness in life is learning to enjoy your own company. Right? And so I say it all the time, Dad.
And they'll say, Dad, I'm bored. He's like, and why are you bored? Because you're boring. You have to learn to entertain yourself.
It's so cool that you tell them
yes,
that.
yes.
It's a beautiful thing. It's a gift.
Yeah. So we know that you had this great self-awareness. You went alone. You know, you had that courage to go alone. But you did some other things that you couldn't do alone, like become the president of both your high school and university.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, hello.
So driven. So tell us a little bit about those experiences and how they helped to grow you.
Sure. Well, again, I've always been ambitious. I just had these goals and dreams. And, I think it was just different people over the years of my life that have said, stop complaining, be a part of the solution. Okay. And that is true today in entertainment and media. There came a point where I just thought, if we're complaining about what we see on television or in movies, I'm going to be a part of the solution. I'm going to take my seat at the table as a believer and just get involved rather than sit back and be on the sidelines. But yeah, it's sort of my girl power feeling inside of me. But I went to a Christian college in Santa Barbara, California, Westmont College, and when it came time to run for president, my junior year, for my senior year, I'd interned in Washington, D.C. for a senator and got to see the political system in the U.S. up close and personal.
American University.
Yes. I really read the book.
Yes,
It's so cool.
yes. I went to William and Mary.
Yes, that's right.
Sister. Yes.
That's right.
So,
Yes. Another great school. But and I just said, I want to apply this back at my home school. And, again, I think you need to be a part of the process. And as a female in a Christian school, we unfortunately still don't see women doing as much. It's getting better,
That's right.
I think, in Christian circles, but just decided to go for it. Yes. And it's, when God puts a call on your life. And in the book, I share that I felt ill-equipped, didn't feel prepared.
That's right.
Friends told me, what are you
right.
thinking? You're going up against some other people that are shoo-ins to win this. But Isaiah 6:8, here I am, Lord, send me, was on a banner in American University, secular university. It's in the cafeteria. And I read that Bible verse, and I thought, I need to go do this.
Yes.
And so, Pastor Rice Brooks, who wrote the foreword to my final chapter, he says something that I loved. He says, God doesn't call the equipped.
That's
he
right.
equips the
called.
If
Yes.
you feel called, God's going to equip you. And there you go.
That's it.
Most of the great things that happen in life happen before we are ready for them.
Yes.
So we often say something that's similar. God doesn't call the qualified; He qualifies the called.
Yes.
Right. And so, really, just you have this story of being willing to go out there and try and give it a try.
Yeah.
And if you would just speak directly to the heart of the listeners who are on radio and look right at the listeners that are on television here and maybe just if you could implore especially young women.
Yeah,
Right? Just
especially,
to
yes.
get outside of their comfort zone.
Yes.
Yeah, so.
Well, you know, I wrote this book, want to share with all of you. I wrote this book because I got an email from a pastor who told me that he has a church full of young, ambitious people, specifically females, who have big career goals and dreams, but they're worried they're going to need to compromise their faith to get ahead. And he wrote to me and he said, I have few role models to point them towards, but I've heard of you. Will you come speak to my church? And I said, I'd love to. I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to write this book. You know, my goal is that you will be empowered and inspired to go after the dreams that God has placed in your heart. He's able to do anything if he is indeed all powerful in this world. And let's not forget that every job is a mission field. Every person can be a minister. I feel called to the entertainment industry and media. What are you called to do? Where do you think God wants you to be in this world? We need Christians to take their seat at the table in all different industries, all different walks of life.
Amen.
We need to shine a light, especially in those dark corners. And for me, that was, entertainment. So where is God calling you to go? And I just want to encourage you, if it's supposed to happen, he will make it happen.
Amen.
So never give up those dreams. He's placed them on your heart for a reason. And I can say, guys, I'm not the most talented person, but I believe when God wants you to be somewhere, he will get you there. And like you said, he will equip you. So go for it.
He who
Yes,
began
beautiful.
a good work in you is faithful to
Faithful,
complete
yes.
it.
Completion.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
Amen.
Yes, and you are pretty talented, though.
I don't know. I think I'm still faking it.
So would you go ahead and put the book up?
Yes, absolutely,
So Faith in the
absolutely. We're gonna
Spotlight.
show
just,
you
yes, for
Megan's
those
book again,
who are watching.
Faith in the Spotlight. If you have not gotten a chance to get this book, I'm telling you, especially for our young women,
Tremendous read.
this read is powerful.
Entertaining.
It's beautiful.
Can't put it down.
And those of you who have kids, young women especially,
Great quotes.
go and buy this book for them. I am going
Please.
to make all three of my girls read this book because I was inspired. I truly was. I was inspired. And it was powerful. And I can relate to so many of your stories in here as well. You know, coming from a Christian home and going to Christian school and, the dating thing and all of that. Like, I was like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
this is so close to home. I love it. Like, it was
thank you.
beautiful.
you so
And like you said, if you go in a bookstore, you're not going to find a book like this.
I didn't find any. That's why I finally said, okay,
Yes.
Lord, maybe I'm supposed to do this.
You're absolutely
we
right.
need these
We
books,
need more of
especially
these.
for the young women.
Absolutely. Faith in the Spotlight. Megan Alexander, that's the book, Faith in the Spotlight. One more time, Faith in the Spotlight. Megan Alexander. I know if you're on radio, we need to say it a few times because you're not texting while you're driving. We know that. So Faith in the Spotlight. If you need to, you can go on to Faith Strong today and
Yes, they will have all the
if you need to have
information
all the
there for
information,
you.
and we'll have that all
Absolutely.
for you. But we would just want to say that one more time, Faith in the Spotlight. And now, before we end this segment, we're going to ask Megan to stick around because we've got a lot to go. But before we end this segment, we want to talk about this sort of very special job, this very special opportunity, and then her first opportunity, well, one of her first opportunities to kind of come into the arena, if you will. So Megan, would you share that special job that we see you on a nightly basis?
Inside Edition?
That's right.
Yeah, well, so nice of you to
Can you
to
kind
share
of
that.
talk about how you got there
Yes,
first?
how that
and
came
then
about.
talk about that first opportunity, if you will.
Sure. Well, Inside Edition, similar to ET Canada, Entertainment
That's
Tonight
right.
Canada,
Absolutely.
although we also cover politics and business on our show and medical stories.
We watch you.
Oh, well, thank you. I was going to say, with the internet now, we can all watch each other, right? Love technology.
We're fans,
nowadays.
just in case you didn't know. We're fans.
I've been with the show now 9 years. I'm one of the reporters and have been in television now for 12, 13 years and cover a little bit of everything. I'm going on my 9th year and I just came back from my 7th Super Bowl in Houston. What a game that was. Hello, last couple minutes.
Do not get him started on that game.
I know. I got
Goodness.
it.
Wow.
But yeah, a little bit of everything and cover the red carpet, cover politics, cover business. And it's never a dull moment, It's a kind of a taste of what's going on in the world. And then I also do a little bit in film and television. I'm in a movie coming up called Heartbeats, which will be in theaters in May.
Nice.
2 little boys, 1.5 and 5. Wonderful husband at home. Yeah.
Wow. Let me
so
say that
God
again.
is good.
Heartbeats.
Heartbeats. Coming out in May. Great
All
dance
right.
film. If
Woo!
you love dance movies, Dwayne Adler directed it. He did Step Up. So.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful.
In the book, you talked about this one time where you had the opportunity. You didn't know what you were going to do. You didn't know what you were going to say, right? When that opportunity came up, right? And you just before you just went for it, and then you found out that you had this tremendous response. That there were other people that were people of faith that wanted to hear about faith, that had these interests too. Would you talk about that story? Do you remember?
The Max
that?
Lucado?
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Was on a talk show in San Antonio, Texas, kind of like a Good Morning Canada for Texas. And I was new, I was the newbie reporter, and we would all get around the table after the show and pitch ideas for shows coming up. And there was a very popular segment with a psychic, a local psychic would come on the show, and viewers would call in and ask questions, you know, and want to talk to their dead relatives and this and that. It was so popular. And I was watching this whole segment go down. And after the show was over, I said to my executive producer, what about if we did that segment with a local pastor and had people call in and ask questions, you know, why do bad things happen to good people and so forth? And he said to me, no, we don't do religion. We don't do those types of things on our show. And I thought, okay, you know, I'm not going to rock the boat too much here. I'm the new one. But I thought, there'll be another opportunity here. And that's my whole thing. And why I wrote this book is Christians need to be in the room when decisions are made. I don't believe that they were purposefully keeping faith off of television. It just wasn't a part of his life and a part of my colleague's life. Well, a couple weeks down the road, we had a last-minute cancellation. And I raised my hand in the room and I said, hey, are you sure you don't want to call and get Max Lucado, who's a well-known pastor in San Antonio, Texas, an author. He's just up the street. I think this would be a really great segment. Viewers could call in. And my producer begrudgingly said, give him a call, see if he's available. He probably won't be. Called him up. It was a God thing. He was available. He came on the show. People called in. Wow. Really wonderful conversation. The next day, guys, I checked the ratings for that show. It was one of the most popular segments, one of the highest rated shows all year.
But God.
And that producer that said, we don't do religion, took one look at those ratings and said, we do that. Let's bring it back on. Let's book it for next week.
Religion.
Yes.
So, I really believe there's not this, ultimate plan to keep faith out of things.
That's right.
There's just not enough Christians in the room raising their hand and offering an idea.
That's right. That's right. And thank you for teaching me how to say Max's name. I used to say Max Lucado forever.
I've heard everything. I don't even know what it is. So we need to ask
we're going with that. Lucado. We're going with it.
You're right. So I've heard everything.
Say it strong, be definitive. And I was actually referring to another time, and you were actually hosted. I think it was in San Antonio. So that came right after that. But there was a time, I think, in San Antonio when you were used to doing there wasn't a lot of time in your regular show offering, but you got a chance to host this morning show where you actually exchanged thoughts and ideas, and you had a chance to do that exchange. And I was really impressed by the fact that you're at that critical moment and you decided to, and I can't remember exactly.
I think this was the Hugh Hefner Happy Birthday.
That's right.
Segment.
That's it. Yes. Yes. That was it. So very impressive. I want to maybe just give that quote. I love that quote by Roosevelt. It's not the critic who counts.
Oh, yeah.
It's not the man who points out how the strong man stumbled or how the doer of deeds could have done them better, right? The man who counts is the man who's actually in the arena, whose face is marred with dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly,
who stumbles and errs
again and again.
Yes.
Who knows the great enthusiasm, the great devotions, who spends himself in. I actually skipped a part, didn't I?
That's it. I'm so impressed that you're quoting this wonderful quote. The credit belongs to the man who's in the arena.
That's right.
And that's what we need to do as believers. We need to get in the arena and keep trying.
That is it. That is it. And so that's where I wanted to end here is just being in the arena. And so we want to thank you so much for being in the arena, for being brave and daring in the arena, and for writing this book, Faith in the Spotlight.
Standing bold.
Thank you.
Standing.
Yes,
We
so
need to, don't we?
Yes,
We
that's
really
what
need to
God
in this
calls
world.
us to do,
Yes,
to
yes.
stand bold. So again, to our listeners, if you have not picked up Megan's book, Faith in the Spotlight, hey, everybody has a laptop, an iPhone, a computer. You can go online, order this book. You have no excuses. Great read. Megan, we just want to say thank you. Thank you for
guys.
being here. And we're going to have more
Let's
of
do it.
Megan
Yes.
Alexander. But to our listeners and our viewers, thank you so much for tuning in to The Sweet Spot. And we just want to say, until next time, stay in your sweet spot.
Woo! Thank you, Megan. Yes, outstanding.